Let's get this party started!
He's shining a light in the dark corners of our media.
You are fake news.
Our government.
Handling of classified documents.
And our culture.
Don't trust anyone.
It's common sense amid its chaos.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Here's your host, Ike Wingate.
Welcome to the show. It is Thursday, August 14th, 2025, and it is great to be back with you here on the show. In case you weren't aware, I've spent the last 4 days in New York City filling in as co-anchor on Newsmax Wake Up America, filling in for Mark Lauder alongside Charla McBride, and I will give you an update on that trip during the show today. My goodness, what a whirlwind, an incredible experience. I'm just going to understate it. I can't do it justice. Everything that I experienced the last few days. And so I'll give you an inside look to the extent that I can on what we were doing, what it looked like, maybe answer any questions that you may have about what went on there. So we are going to be talking a little bit later to Seth Woodall. We have talked to him before, legal analyst and owner of Seth Woodall and Associates. We're going to ask him a little bit about D.C. statehood, if Maryland should take over D.C. Of course, the title of the show today is D.C. statehood and Schiff hits the fan. The Schiff has hit the fan. Adam Schiff looks like his days of freedom might be numbered. I don't know. A lot of allegations there. The Clintons keep coming up as well. And so we're going to get into that, as well as, like I said, this update on the trip. And so anyway, I hope you will help us out by, giving us a thumbs up, reposting this feed, hearting the post on X, and reposting. Those are little things that you can do to help us out in the algorithm. And back in the swing. It's a different world when, I'm streaming this show, setting it all up myself versus what I just came from, which was basically I could focus on bringing you the news and information and details, and everybody did everything else, which was awesome. An incredible team there. What a crew. My goodness. I mean, they're gonna hook you up with your microphone, your earpiece. They're gonna set all that stuff up. They're gonna do the makeup. They're gonna make sure you have your script that basically is your guide for what you're going to be talking about, what you're going to be reading in a teleprompter. It was awesome. They treated me like I was somebody, like a rock star, basically. So it was fantastic. So I'll share a little bit more about that later. I'm seeing in the chat, there's some of you that didn't even know I was there. I was there. Of course, I talked about it for quite some time ahead of time, that we were going to be there, hoping some of you would be able to tune in. And I know a lot of you did. And so I'll give you a little behind the scenes update on that. But coming up at the top of the hour is when Seth Woodall is going to join us to talk a little bit more about all the things. I mean, it's been sort of a slow news week, I'd probably argue a little bit. Of course, you got the Adam Schiff stuff, but you also have all this violence in D.C. that's been going on. And then so President Trump has stepped in with, federalizing it. And it's, sent Democrats, into a crazy tizzy, basically. And really, it's only because Trump did it. Trump has the legal power to take over D.C. for a period of time. And there's some theories being floated out there about really what's a better long-term strategy. See, Democrats want D.C. to become a state, because they know they will lock up representatives and add to, basically stack their side in Congress, because D.C. is made up of like 95, maybe 98% Democrats. Because, they want to keep protecting the bloated government and deep state that they can continue to operate and dominate average everyday Americans with overreach and power. And so, of course, they're going to vote. They're going to continue to vote that stuff in. Now, I know people that live in D.C. that work inside the government that would, describe themselves as liberal. And, they're not sinister from the standpoint, but the people at the top, I think, would be more in that category as it relates to it's a gravy train. They want to keep going. They want to keep the gravy train rolling. And so they're going to continue to vote for whoever is going to keep that bloated state, that overreach state, that control state in place, I believe. Now, there are people, though, that aren't at the top, that aren't sinister, that are going, well, yeah, I believe in what I'm doing. And, Democrats seem to, provide more opportunities for our company and so it's a bit selfish, or it's just a bit more normal because that is the culture there. So you do become a product of your surroundings, do you not? Culture wise, the people you hang out with, it's just part of life. And if it's normal to you that everybody thinks this way, at some point you're probably going to think that way. It's just kind of human nature. And so whatever point I was trying to make, I don't remember, but it, basically, the idea that here we go, that DC should become a state, is what the people at the top that they want to continue, and they know that they have the Democrat votes and people that continue to vote for this kind of thing because it's part of their livelihood. And so, is there a better option though? And we're going to get into some of that as well. So I want to see you in the chat. I want to see you commenting on what we're talking about on the show. Would love to get your perspective on what we are covering. Of course, if you want to help us make this content possible, you can support us by contributing via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com or in the chat on Rumble. And so I'm going to just get into the content here and probably bounce around. I'm it's obviously I've done this show for a long time, but it is, it's different being back here in the home studio and sort of getting back into, you sort of have muscle memory of what you typically do. And so I'm sort of getting reacclimated after, being out for about a week. So let's talk about Adam Schiff a little bit. This FBI investigation into the Clintons. John Solomon of Just the News has been really, really on top of this. And so it's a little bit of Schiff. It's a little bit of Clintons. Take a look at what he had to say earlier.
We're going to show you the other side of this conspiracy, the protection racket. We've all known for a long time that James Comey exonerated Hillary Clinton without authority to do so and without finishing his investigation when it came to the classified emails. Tonight, we're going to tell you about the other Clinton investigation, one that was running in 3 separate FBI offices, New York, Washington, and Little Rock. It was a predicated criminal investigation that was examining whether Hillary Clinton ran a pay-to-play scheme that delivered favors from her perch as Secretary of State while foreigners and others paid large sums of money to her family foundation, the Clinton Foundation, run by Bill Clinton and their daughter, eventually Chelsea Clinton. 3 separate agencies, 3 separate bureaus, offices of the FBI believe they had predicated evidence to pursue that. Every time they tried to move the ball down the road in the shadows of the 2016 election, they got shut down. I mean, they got shut down at the highest levels of their agency. Andrew McCabe, the deputy director, a man who potentially had a conflict of interest with Hillary Clinton. His wife got money from Hillary Clinton's former campaign chair to run for a Virginia state Senate. And by the way, McCabe attended the meeting where that assistance was solicited. He eventually was conflicted out, but not before he gave the order to his agents that you won't investigate or do anything on this unless I approve it. Downstream from them, 4 different U.S. attorneys' offices under Barack Obama were asked for help by the agents. Agents need help. We need a grand juror. We need to get evidence. We want to move the case down the road. All 3 of those 4 offices told the agents, you're on your own. We will not assist you in your pursuit of criminal charges against Hillary Clinton. And then perhaps the most extraordinary statement in the document that we are going to show you on screen now, they can put it up as you're looking here. The Deputy Attorney General for Barack Obama, Sally Yates, explicitly told the FBI, shut it down, meaning the corruption probes of Hillary Clinton. Think about this. While Donald Trump was out on the campaign trail chanting, lock her up, maybe there was a good reason to lock up Hillary Clinton, he would argue every night. The Obama Justice Department was telling the FBI agents who also thought there might be a reason to lock up Hillary Clinton, shut it down. Remember those words.
Shut it down. Pretty incredible, right? John Solomon, David Sling pointing this out very aptly there. Solomon's an old school investigative reporter, and I'm telling you, this guy operates by a really strict code of ethics on the way he reports. I mean, he's really fantastic, and he has been on this for years. And we knew about some of these field offices potentially, being called off by McCabe, and now through some of these additional released documents, we're seeing it more clearly now that McCabe was calling them off. Comey was, had full knowledge of this as well, allegedly, and was basically sort of running, I would call, what appeared to be like a propaganda campaign out in front of the American people, acting like they were investigating it and there was no there, and here we go again. And so John Solomon, covering this very, very extensively, and it really matches what we're now being told about why this crossfire hurricane investigation was started against President Trump with this Russian collusion narrative off of the Steele dossier. Based on these classified documents that have been released to an extent, there's still some things redacted in them that we need to know. It was a diversion campaign away from the Hillary Clinton email debacle. So you have people in the FBI that are looking at this going, hey, there's something going on here. There's something going on with the Clinton Foundation. There are things that are that need to be further investigated. You got the email scandal going on, and they're telling the people at the top are telling these agents, shut it down. While that's going on, they then have, with the Obama administration's help, this diversion over to this Russian collusion hoax to basically say, well, to take attention off of Hillary, we need something else. And so, whether it was 100% fabricated from the beginning with that in mind, I don't know. But this Steele dossier was full of uncorroborated things. This campaign package of Oppo research, essentially, that was put together, and then that's what they were using. That's what the FBI was using, basically, to substantiate their investigation, basically using it as probable cause when people inside the FBI had said, this is unconfirmed. There's nothing here that would, that would justify us investigating. This is not probable cause. None of this has been confirmed. And so whether or not that Steele dossier was developed from the beginning with this in mind, I don't know. It seems, my theory is that somebody on the inside, when the Clinton spotlight was growing brighter on her, somebody saw this Steele dossier and said, actually, you know what? We can use this. And that's what they did. And they diverted everything. They hijacked the media for years. They spent $32 million investigating, all while Adam Schiff allegedly, according to a Democrat whistleblower, this is a Democrat who, someone who leaned Democrat, who was inside the FBI. Let me see if I can find exactly what we got here. I can tell you. Yeah. Okay. So this Adam Schiff whistleblower, Schiff was particularly upset. Okay. So this whistleblower was a career national security officer who was someone in the FBI who was assigned to one of these committees in Congress that Adam Schiff was associated with. And this whistleblower said, and this whistleblower had 4 different interviews starting in 2017 as a whistleblower with the FBI saying Adam Schiff wanted to leak classified information on Trump to try to indict him. That is what the whistleblower said. And he went to, the FBI, inside the FBI, 4 different times, interviewed 4 different times, and it went nowhere. And also another allegation of this whistleblower was that Schiff was upset because he believed if Hillary was elected, he would have become the director of the CIA. Thank the good Lord in heaven that Hillary did not get elected and Adam Schiff did not become the director of the CIA. So according to the whistleblower, the motivation is Schiff very upset that Trump was elected because Hillary was going to be his meal ticket to be of some level of importance, the head of the CIA. That's according to the whistleblower. And Congress can now see how classified information was leaked to shape political narratives and decide if our institutions were weaponized against the American people. That is what Kash Patel has said. So they've declassified it. They've sent it on to Congress. And then now the heat becomes, more intense on Adam Schiff specifically. But at the same time, we've got the heat over on the Clintons as well. We know that the Clintons have been subpoenaed to appear before Congress. It is, anybody's guess as to whether their lawyers will be able to get them out of that. But nonetheless, the deep state, the corruption is being exposed layer by layer. And a lot of people have, some people on the very, very far right have been critical of Trump, saying, well, where are the arrests? Specifically, when talking about the Epstein files. Well, this is real, tangible progress. Now, again, I'm with you on the fact that we want to see arrests happen, but you have to follow the chain of command, if you will, the thing that the chief of police of Washington, D.C. doesn't understand what that means. But you have to follow the process, in this investigation. So it is happening. Now, a couple other things of note here is you have this thing going on between Hunter Biden and Melania Trump. Hunter Biden refuses to apologize to Melania Trump. So he said on this podcast that Epstein is who introduced Melania to Donald Trump. That's what he says. And basically say, no, I'm not going to apologize. So he was appearing on this podcast called Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan, never heard of it, posted yesterday with the host saying he held a legal letter demanding a retraction from Melania and was asked if he would apologize to the First Lady. There is an expletive here, but obviously we don't have a crew that's editing stuff. So this is what he said, unfiltered. Take a look.
We're here maybe to give you the platform to apologize to the First Lady for your statements that you made about her possible connection to Jeffrey Epstein.
Fuck that. That's not going to happen.
We're here.
Okay. So there you go. Defiant, nasty, and very arrogant, right? I mean, this guy, a guy who he's kind of like a cat. He's had 9 lives. legally speaking, right? And he is just defiant, arrogant, the hubris here. I don't think this is going to end well for Hunter Biden, because he's out here saying something, and he's going to have to be able to prove this. So Callahan says Melania Trump seeking $1 billion in damages if the show doesn't take down video showing Biden's accusations. This is Hunter Biden we're talking about. And if the former first son doesn't offer a formal apology. First of all, what I said was what I have heard and seen reported and written primarily by Michael Wolff, is what Biden said. But also dating back all the way to 2019 with the New York Times reporting sources that Epstein claimed to be the person who introduced them. We're talking about Donald Trump and Melania here. He cited Vanity Fair excerpts of a book. The fact of the matter is, he says, I don't think these threats of a lawsuit add up to anything other than a designed distraction. Hunter Biden went on to say, if they want to sit down for a deposition and clarify the nature of the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein, if the president and the first lady want to do that and all the known associates around them at the time of whatever time they met, I'm more than happy to provide them the platform to do it. So he's sort of daring them to talk about it. And do I think there's an actual client list? Biden said, no, I don't think there's an actual list. I don't think that he was that stupid, but I do think that what they do have implicates Trump. So I think so. When asked why the Trump administration might be withholding documents. Okay, so that's Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden in a feud with Melania Trump. Hunter Biden literally saying, F no, I'm not going to apologize for saying that. So we'll see where this goes, seeking $1 billion. What you've noticed this time around on Trump 2.0 is when people are spreading lies, they are going after them hardcore. And people want to say Donald Trump doesn't believe in free speech. Well, you can't go out and make an accusation like this if it's not true publicly. But you also have the side of the media, and like George Stephanopoulos saying that Trump was convicted of rape, which is a flat out lie. So if you're going to lie on media and make accusations like that, then you ought to be held accountable. It's part of it. You don't make allegations against someone. That's not protected under free speech if you are lying. You can't commit slander, right? Or libelous statements. Excuse me. Woo. I've been having these sneezing fits since about day 2 in New York City. I don't know. I think it's the air there. And so, nonetheless, I apologize for that. But you can't go around saying things that are lies, even if you're on the media. Okay, you can't do it. That's not something that's protected as free speech. Okay, and so we'll see where this goes. But certainly, Trump 2.0 is they're not playing around. They're taking it straight to the source and saying, "Look, if you're going to be spreading lies, we're going to sue your butt in court. This is how it's going to go." So, okay, let's see here. All right. Again, what we need you to do is we need you to heart the post and repost. We need you to give us a thumbs up. And we also need your contributions, Cash App or Venmo, at IkeReport.com or in the chat on Rumble. We're going to be joined at the top of the hour by Seth Woodall. He's a legal analyst. We're going to talk to him a little bit about the situation in D.C. statehood. We might even ask him a little bit about Adam Schiff. We shall see. But let's see your comments. Banana says, "Is it ragweed?" I don't know. Do they have there wasn't any plants around? You know what I'm saying, in the middle of Manhattan. But what are you going to do? Let's see what else. David Sling says maybe Melania can get one of those $1 million paintings out of Hunter Biden. Rocky says that Hunter makes her nauseous and uneasy, and he is vile. And then Mostly Penny says, at the thought of a CIA director, Adam Schiff, barf emojis. Right? Indeed. Okay, so keep the comments coming on what we're talking about here on the show. Mostly Penny says maybe you're allergic to the liberal sanctuary cities. Maybe that's what it is. It's just embedded in my system. Maybe that's what it is. I'll tell you, the streets of Manhattan smell like weed and sewer in a lot of cases. Weed and sewer. I have been to New York City. It was about 10 years ago for maybe 2 days. So this is the longest time I've spent in New York City, Manhattan specifically. I got to say, a lot of the people in Manhattan were really, really nice, really charming, actually. Can you believe that? Now, not everybody was. I mean, you got all kinds of personalities, but the places I was going into, whether it was, a restaurant/bar or something like that, or even the CVS, I had to go in the CVS a few times. That's where, I'd buy bottled water and, things like that. And I asked one of the guys that worked there, hey, what are the price on these? It looks like, it's kind of confusing here. And he's like, yeah, that was taken from a bigger pack. You know what? I'll sell them each to you for 99 cents. I'll do that for you. I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I was like, man, this is the kind of thing somebody would do in the South, maybe. But again, at the hotel, where I was staying, I mean, the people there were so helpful. I was just kind of taken aback. Like, you know what? I repent of my judgment that New Yorkers are just rude. And I know that's the kind of the perception in a lot of ways, but I just had positive experience after positive experience dealing with various people there. And the energy inside of New York City is just really quite incredible. I mean, you're just hearing of people having conversation on their phone. Everybody's walking somewhere and they're on their phones just talking. So if you didn't know any better, if you didn't know, people had AirPods in or whatever, you would just think everybody's talking to themselves. But you just hear the conversations, the deals that are being done, the activity that's happening. It's quite, energizing. But then, of course, you have the horn honks and the crazy driving and the sirens going off. And unfortunately, my hotel was, conveniently, right across the street from Newsmax. But it was also right around the corner from a police station and a fire station. So as you can imagine, I had to be awake at 3:30 a.m. local time, which is 2:30 a.m. my time. So I've been waking up at 2:30 in the morning, basically. And so you got to kind of go to bed. I wanted to go to bed each night at 8 p.m., but I just can't do that. I'm a night person, and I tried as well as I could. But unfortunately, you had these sirens going off all night long, horn honking, and the police vehicles there make this interesting sound, that's like, it's like you wake up in the middle of the night. Finally, the last night, after some advice, I got some earplugs. So that was better, but it was still weird sleeping with earplugs. Anyway, so there are downsides to all of that going on. It would be hard to live in Manhattan for me, consistently, because that's just a lot of chaos, but at the same time, kind of invigorating, from the standpoint of anything and everything you want is there. I took a stroll through Central Park. I walked into Bloomingdale's. I went into Trump Tower. I'll show you some pictures of Trump Tower. a little bit later. But it was an interesting experience for sure. But I just wanted to say that a lot of these people were very nice. Very nice. Rocky Diane wants to know if I took hemorrhoid cream. I'm guessing for the making sure your eyes are awake. No, I do not use that. I use the eye gels. Okay. I'm not afraid to say it when it's that early in the morning. And so, anyway, all right, I'll tell you more about that a little bit later. So let's get into this. I want to hit a couple things before we are joined by Seth Woodall. DC man charged with felony assault after hitting federal agent with a Subway sandwich. Just clocked him with the foot long. A man who used a Subway sandwich to attack a federal agent on the streets of D.C. earlier this week has been charged with felony assault. Here's the interesting thing about this guy. Well, just wait. The criminal case against Sean Charles Dunn was announced Wednesday by D.C. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, who said in a statement the police are not out there to get pushed around or beat up. So here's the guy there on your screen. Dunn was allegedly captured on video Sunday night shouting that a group of federal officers were fascists before whipping his deli sandwich at him. He whipped out his foot-long sandwich and struck a U.S. Customs and Border Protection agent in the chest. He thought it was funny, Pirro said. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony. Here's the interesting thing about this is we are now hearing that this guy's actually an employee of the DOJ. I don't know what he does, but here's the video of the sandwich assault. Take a look. There's no sound with it, but he chunks the sandwich right at his chest and runs away. Lettuce everywhere, tomato, mayo. I mean, look at the way he runs. Yeah. Again, the sandwich right in the chest. No idea what exactly this altercation was about, but he's running away like a princess, basically. I mean, what is happening here? We got sandwiches being thrown. Our pets' heads are falling off. But yeah, really wild. Apparently, this guy is some kind of DOJ employee who called these cops fascists. Now, look, I understand. Okay, I'm not giving any credibility to this guy at all. But when you hear of a federal takeover of a city, you start to get concerned. Wait a minute, you don't want martial law happening. But DC specifically has a carve out for this exact thing. And, there's plenty of a good argument to say, DC needs to be protected in a specific way because of all that goes on there. And also, it's the nation's capital. Don't you have, where's the pride of ownership in actually making this a place that people want to visit? And it's embarrassing, especially, you got foreign leaders and dignitaries coming to town and it's a hellhole. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And so I understand where, after the, so-called big balls, the guy who worked on Doge was, trying to limit this carjacking from occurring and, bloodied and beat up. And that, Trump just said that, enough's enough, that this is not going to fly. And so, it's no wonder he has enacted this DC home rule basically for 30 days to get things in order. If he wants to go beyond that, it's going to, take some congressional activity. But this whole thing is laughable because Democrats are basically, they're coming out against this. And people, oh, well, crime is down. Crime is down since Trump has taken over. They want to leave that part out. Crime is down, but it is still, you're safer in Baghdad, Iraq. You're more likely to get murdered in D.C., statistically speaking, than in Baghdad. Tell me how that's okay. And Jeanine Pirro, they talked about crime being down. She says, down from what? because it's still way too high. And Democrats are taking this position. What? DC is fine. DC is fine. Another tone-deaf position. We talk about these 90-10 issues. This is like a 99-1 issue. Even Democrats, everyday people in D.C. are saying, yeah, this is out of hand. I can't live my life. And the juvenile crime they haven't been talking about, murder rate of 15 to 20-year-olds has doubled since 2021. That is not going down. And that's a large portion of the perpetrators here allegedly connected to gang activity. And so, again, Democrats take tone-deaf positions that make zero sense. And the only reason why they're doing this is because Trump has taken one position and they have to take the opposite because they can't see the American people's needs and wants as chief and first and foremost, the most important thing. No, their most important thing is we must oppose Trump at any cost, even if it means human lives. It's utterly absurd. Now, the Democrat Party is obviously out of control. And so for more on that, let's get this clip from Senator John Kennedy, who says it like nobody else can, right? Let's take a look.
He is scared to death of the loon wing. They won't speak up, and they don't stand for anything anymore. All they stand for is whatever is against whatever President Trump stands for. That's why we find ourselves in the extraordinary position of mainstream Democrats have now come out firmly and passionately in favor of crime in Washington, D.C. Why? Because Trump is trying to do something about it.
Chucky Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, they're, quote, minority leaders in name only. They'll never stand up to that wing, will they?
No, they could. And I don't mean any disrespect. I don't know Mr. Jeffries that well. I know Senator Schumer very well. So I say this with respect. Chuck and Hakeem need to go to Amazon, buy some testicles, and stand up to the loon wing of their party. And until they're willing to do that, I haven't heard Senator Schumer say anything bad about Mondami. I mean, the guy's a socialist.
He won't.
He's
they won't.
Whack job.
Yeah, but they're afraid of the whack job. Can you explain something to me? I didn't know that Amazon sold testicles, Senator. I appreciate you educating our audience about that. I had no idea they sold that.
Sure.
I guess anything's for sale these days. They're very cheap.
You can buy you can buy anything on Amazon, Sean.
Apparently, I'm learning a lot tonight.
Okay, so they need to go to Amazon, buy some testicles, and find their set. Basically, is what Kennedy said. So nobody says it better than Senator Kennedy, right? Okay, so I will play a couple clips from my time filling in at co-anchor on Newsmax here momentarily. We're waiting for Seth Woodall to join us because we want to talk to him about this idea of DC statehood, what would be a better option potentially, and maybe even some of this Adam Schiff stuff as he's going to join us quickly here to give us some insight on what is going on here. Let me make sure, actually. One second here. Give me 1 second. Just make sure that I'm. All right. So anyway, okay. All right. Yeah. So Kennedy. Oh yeah, you can buy anything on Amazon, right? And so here we have two years ago, right? Hold on. Rocky Diane says Kennedy cracks her up. Bree says Kennedy is the best. He's literally the one person that I will miss when they retire. That's a pretty good point. Most of them you won't miss. Mostly Penny pointing out that Schumer said he wouldn't extend the guard in DC. No, he said. Yeah. So we've got Hunter, we've got Schumer dropping F-bombs in the public square here on these various issues. Rocky says Trump should do this in all of the Democrat-run cities. Yeah, well, he doesn't. Legally, there's going to be a problem there. But we'll ask Seth Woodall about that and see what he says. But I'm very, very much the kind of person who opposes federal takeovers of things. We want the federal government to be as limited as possible. But then when you start talking about safety and things like that, then where does that fit in? What can be done there? What's interesting, though, is a lot of people point to this and say the reason why Democrats don't want Trump to do this is because it will work and it will show just how incompetent they are. And they don't want to give him any wins, and so they're going to oppose it left and right. The crazy thing is that 2 years ago, Democrats were calling for the guard to be called into D.C. to control crime. Take a look.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser announced her safer, stronger anti-crime legislation. So this morning, she went to Capitol Hill to testify before the House Oversight Committee about crime in the district and ways to reduce it.
Access to firearms is a national problem, and we need common sense gun reform. We also need this Congress to give the mayor control of the D.C. National Guard. We welcome your partnerships or non-public safety initiatives as well.
Okay, so just 2 years ago, Mayor Muriel Bowser was asking for help with National Guard because of the rampant crime in D.C. And Chuck Schumer's out there talking about, I walk every day. I always take a walk. I never feel unsafe. Well, dude, you have freaking security with you all the time, even if that's true that you do go take a hike every day. So that doesn't add up. Let's see here. 1 second here. There we go. So this idea here that now it's a bad thing to cut down on the crime in DC because Trump is doing it versus 2 years ago they were asking for it shows the hypocrisy behind what they're talking about here. And again, invite these people to go out on the streets of DC after 8 p.m. and see what they tell you, because they won't do it. And again, you even have people like Morning Joe saying, yeah, I've talked to a lot of people and they're like, yeah, there's too much violence happening in DC. We agree with this. So to my point, the 90-10 issues, the things that Democrats are harping on that the rest of America disagrees with, in DC, I think it's like a 99-1 type issue. And so for more on this, we want to welcome in Seth Woodall. He is a legal analyst and owner at Seth Woodall and Associates to talk about everything that's going on here with this DC federal takeover. Welcome into the show, Seth. It is great to have you. What do you make of what's going on with the crime in DC and the federal takeover?
Well, DC has just been a cesspool of violence and crime over the last several years, and it's getting worse and worse. So I'm glad to see Trump actually stepping up, taking initiative, and helping law enforcement there. DC is somewhat of an anomaly here in the United States. It's a federal city. It's the only city that's federal. And Trump has the ability to mobilize the National Guard and send them in and actually to take over the municipal police there in D.C. So I think it's a great thing. And I think you're right. Even the Democrats up in D.C. are welcoming this because the violence is taking over. And it's not even safe to take your family out on the streets there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the murder rate per capita, or the homicide rate per 100,000 is higher in Washington, D.C. than in Baghdad, than in Mexico City. All of these other places, you have a greater chance of being killed in D.C. And so, the kind of image this puts forward here, Seth, America's a great country, but just don't go to our capital. That doesn't look good locally. It doesn't look good here, domestically, but it certainly doesn't look good, outside of these borders globally, right?
It's a bad look. The United States is led right out of Washington, D.C. And internationally, other countries are looking at us. Nationally, states are looking at us. Citizens are looking at us. And D.C. should be one of the most beautiful, well-protected areas in the world. And what's happened over the last several years, or the last several administrations, is Democratic policies have just led to a lack in police enforcement, just an overall poor morale with law enforcement there. And so to see Trump step up and take the initiative to protect our capital, I think is a fabulous look.
So let me ask you about this DC home rule. It's 30 days, right? And so after that, what has to happen in order if they want to continue these operations in the Capitol?
So if Trump wants to go past 30 days with these operations, he would have to get the approval of Congress. So he has been on the news recently and says that he believes that he would easily get that vote. So he thinks that he'll get the vote if he wants to extend past 30 days. I think he's right. I think Congress would approve it. And again, going back to what you said a few moments ago, this cuts across party lines. This should be a nonpartisan issue. Democrats and Republicans should come together and say, hey, we're here to protect the people of this nation, and we're here to protect the people of Washington, D.C. And so I do think he'd get the votes, but it's a congressional vote at that point.
Yeah, I've heard that it has to be, I believe, 60 votes in the Senate, and you feel confident that, obviously you'd still have to get about 9 Democrats to vote on this. But for anybody who's representing people in or around this area, or even obviously they have to operate in D.C., you would think it would be common sense to vote yes. So you feel pretty confident they can get those 60 votes.
I do. I think the votes would be obtained. I think Trump has already said that he feels confident that he can get those. And I don't think he would say that openly and publicly without having some knowledge that he believes that even 9, 10, 15 Democrat representatives would in fact vote in favor of that.
So DC statehood has been talked about for a long time. Obviously, Democrats want DC statehood. They can pick up some extra seats there and try to dominate more, because obviously we know DC is primarily Democrat. But Senator Mike Lee has proposed this option that DC statehood is not the idea. Actually, what you would do is cede the part of the land back to Maryland and keep the portions of the federal government under federal control, like the corridor encompassing the White House, the Capitol, the Supreme Court, but then cede the rest to Maryland. And so do you think that would be a good option here, or do you see something else that might be a better idea?
No, I think that's probably the best option. The alternative is to just make DC a state in and of itself. And I don't see that happening. DC was formed by Virginia and Maryland ceding land to the federal government back in 1791. And I think the best idea is what Senator Lee said, that let's just cede some land back to Maryland. And then these individuals who live in the D.C. region would have representation, because what they're upset about, what the citizens are upset about up in D.C. is they have no representation. They have no congressional representatives in Washington. The only elected officials in D.C. are the mayor and the city council. So they'd have no representation at the federal level. And that's what they're upset about. So I think probably the best idea would be what Mike Lee said, or Senator Lee said. Let's consider ceding some land back to Maryland, and these folks can be represented by the state of Maryland and have federal representatives at the state or the federal level in Congress and Senate.
So under the Constitution, Congress is supposed to be D.C.'s lawmaking body in all cases. This is from Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, which empowers Congress to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases over such district as may become the seat of the government of the United States, from the Constitution there. So anybody who's saying that, Congress doesn't have the right to do any of this stuff, they really have no legal ground to stand on, do they?
No, I think it's obvious within the Constitution that Congress absolutely has the authority to do that if they think it's appropriate, and it would obviously come to a vote. And if it's voted and approved, that's what would happen.
All right, let me ask you quickly to piggyback on this. What about other cities? Because President Trump has sort of floated. He does this. He'll float ideas to sort of gain, sort of reaction a little bit. Maybe stir the pot a little bit. He's floated some kind of federal takeover to get things back into order in cities like New York, Chicago, and others. Is that even legally possible?
There is legal possibilities there. So President Trump has the authority to send out the National Guard to assist in local law enforcement affairs. Now, these National Guardsmen cannot go in and make arrest, but they can be there for assistance purposes and supportive purposes for local law enforcement. So he can certainly do that. And then also, pursuant to the Insurrection Act, if there is what is deemed to be an insurrection, and we've seen, especially out in LA a couple of weeks ago with the riots over the immigration, certainly insurrections going on, and that, it would come up to it'd be an argument as to what the definition of an insurrection is. But I think Trump could send out National Guards to take over these cities, or to protect these cities, not take over. These cities should be doing it on their own. Unfortunately, most of the cities we see this in are Democratic-led cities, which is unfortunate. Most strong Republican cities, you don't see these type of activities in. So I support the idea that if folks like Gavin Newsom are going to allow riots that are violent, that are destructive, that's a matter of national security. And if President Trump believes that he should send out the National Guard, I think he will.
So as Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said, it's sort of a force amplifier. We're basically boosting what they're already doing. Like you said, they're not, detaining people. But if we go on the other side of this argument, say, if a Democrat president was doing this, I'd probably be a little apprehensive, because then you start to get into, well, is martial law coming or anything like that? So, as a constitutional conservative kind of point of view, you see any danger in this, or guardrails that you at some point maybe you would become concerned if this progressed? Is there any scenario like that?
Well, I think anytime that something happens like that, it is a slippery slope, or it could be perceived as a slippery slope. If you give an inch, they take a mile. I think what Trump is trying to do is say, hey, states, cities, you take care of your own citizens, you protect your citizens, you follow the law, you make sure that violence is not rampant, and we'll leave you alone. However, if you're not going to do that, then we have an obligation as a society to step in. So, let's hope that these cities will see what's happening in D.C. and they'll take the initiative themselves to correct the issues in places like L.A. and New York, and we won't have to deal with that. But I do see the argument on the other side that once it starts, it may not stop.
Well, it seems as though government, for all its problems and things we don't like about it, at the very basic level, you have to provide safety and security for your citizens. I mean, if I was going to argue, you have one job, I would think that would be it. So if they're not doing it, something has to be done, because this is the United States of America. People should not be having to worry about being able to walk down the street at 7 p.m. at night. And so, I think there's a good case to be made there. I want to get your take really quick on this before we let you go. Anna Paulina Luna, Congresswoman out of Florida, rather, has chimed in on this Adam Schiff classified leak allegation from this whistleblower who went to the FBI 4 different times. Actually, a person who identifies as a Democrat, as she sees in this document regarding these leaks, believed to be unethical and treasonous, is what it spells out in this document, talking about Adam Schiff authorizing and wanting leaks to occur to try to be able to indict Trump. Now, the question here for you, Seth, is she cites 18 USC Section 793, that leaking classified information is punishable by up to 10 years imprisonment per count, plus fines and forfeiture. Do you see that as any possibility as it relates to Adam Schiff and these this allegation of leaks from this whistleblower?
I do see that as a possibility. What we've seen over the last several years is a complete weaponization of the Department of Justice against President Trump. And I think there's some retribution to be paid at some point. And whether or not it's appropriate in this case, I don't know the specifics, but I do know that there are strong allegations with factual basis that these leaks were intentional and were done for purposes of hurting or impacting President Trump. So I do think that, as representatives, as leaders in this nation, people like Schiff should really have a responsibility and hold themselves accountable. But if they're not going to hold themselves accountable, we as a society have to hold them accountable. And it's unreprehensible what has been done, especially with these leaks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us, Seth Woodall, legal analyst and owner at Seth Woodall and Associates. It's always great to have you on the show and get your take, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, especially when it comes to allegations and people accusing people of potential crimes or not. And when we have a mind like yours to be able to bounce these things off of, it's extremely helpful to our audience. So thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
All right. So we got that cleared up a little bit on the other cities. There is a situation. I know Rocky was saying in the chat earlier, taking over some other cities, and so there is a category of scenario where that actually could come into play, and I'm sure the people in some of those cities actually would be really happy to hear that. Actually, so. Always great to have Seth on the show. Okay, so let us know what you think in the chat. We would love to hear your comments on what is going on the show. And I just want to go back to that statistic related to the per capita. You literally you're safer in Baghdad than you are in Washington, D.C., which just seems crazy to me. And so the other statistics I wanted to talk to you about is related to these younger juveniles. Okay, if I can bring that up, I've got it saved somewhere. It is where did it go? It's something like a double. It's doubled. I don't know where I saved it. It's somewhere. Here we go. So violent crime. I'm just going to show you my show notes here. Okay. This is what I do. I'm trying to, create talking points here on information based on a lot of research we do here. So violent crimes from 2021 to 2024 here. And that's what's going to be highlighted right here in blue. Is, according to DC Witness, the percentage of homicides and non-fatal shootings committed by youth aged 15 to 20 have increased significantly. So you hear the media talking about crime is down. Well, we also know that a lot of these crimes have been downgraded. They've been downgraded by the various officials in the Justice Department there in DC, as far as diminishing them, downgrading them, not prosecuting. And so they're cooking the books, is what is alleged here. But you look at specifically these homicides and non-fatal, so homicides and shootings committed by youth age 15 to 20. In 2021, it was 11.3%. In 2024 through June, 21%. So it has doubled. It's a rising trend in juvenile involvement in violent crimes, nearly doubling over 3 years. So this is not all crimes, but my gosh, this is the worst of the worst crimes. And especially with this younger age group, it has increased dramatically. So don't let them tell you that things have gotten better. But again, if they want to tout that, what they can't, if you want to talk about these statistics actually being reliable, what's funny is they've gone down since January when Trump got in. Kind of interesting, isn't it? All right, let me know what you think about what Seth Woodall said, our legal analyst, on those subjects. I would love to hear what you're saying in the chat. The chat's gone a little bit quiet here in the last couple of minutes, so please chime in there. And so Mike Lee basically is proposing that that Maryland take over. Now, another big part of this DC violence is all of the homeless people. And they are making accommodations to either get them treatment or get them into a place, or otherwise they just have to leave, period. And so you have like this decaying homeless encampment there in DC, and they're clearing it out. So they are getting things done. I mean, you get so tired of politicians talking about stuff and not doing it. And no grass grows under the feet of President Trump. He makes it happen. And so this is what you're seeing here, getting rid of this homeless encampment there. Yep, they've got the skid steer and the bucket, and they are getting all this junk hauled away. Right. There you go. All right. So you see that it is happening there, cleaning up the streets of DC. And even though a lot of Democrats won't want to admit it, they are going to be happy. They are going to have a better life because of this. And like I said earlier, if Donald Trump is for it, Democrats are going to be against it, no matter what. As I've said this, ridiculous analogy before. Basically, if Trump says puppy dogs are cute, the Democrats are going to say, that puppy dogs are ugly, nasty animals. I mean, it's just, that's how basic and stupid it all is. And of course, you got a guy like Scott Jennings, who's right there in the belly of the beast, having to deal with idiots all day long, I would say, on the set of CNN as far as these liberal, crazy ideologies. And so he talks about this here. Take a look.
Well, what about that idea? What about the idea that this is, even if one supports this effort, it's a Band-Aid, right? It's not like hiring 500 additional cops in D.C.
And I think they do have a staffing shortage in the D.C. Police Department. They need to fix that. I don't know what's authoritarian about putting some extra eyes and ears on the street, getting criminals off the street to keep people from being murdered and carjacked. Nobody in their right mind believes Washington, D.C. is safe. And to say the president's trying to help us keep people from getting murdered and carjacked and we have to stop this authoritarian push, it's just sort of ridiculous rhetoric. These Democrats don't know what to do with themselves. Every time Donald Trump tries to do something, they reflexively feel the need to oppose it without thinking through the political implications for themselves.
You think Democrats are taking the bait?
Well, I think they're acting like idiots here. The city is crime-ridden. I saw a guy get murdered in Union Station in February at 4 p.m. I saw the body hit the floor at the bottom of the escalator on the second floor. And so everybody who visits there, everybody who lives there knows it's a serious problem. You have extra eyes and ears. They've arrested criminals. They're getting illegal guns off the street. People feel safer. Tourists feel safer. What is the problem?
Golly, the body hit the floor. And there was actually an ABC anchor that was on this week saying, who had similar experiences that she was sharing personally and her close friends. And I'm just hearing these stories and going, wait a minute, there aren't that many people in media, in the grand scheme of things in DC. How many people are there? 3,000, 2,000 media people? I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not that many, relatively speaking, but so many of them have personal stories. So if that's the case, think about, amplify that out throughout the entire population of DC. And I mean, almost everybody has to have a story, at least personally or one layer removed, of seeing some kind of violence or having it perpetrated on them. Benny Johnson, a conservative creator and host, had his house set on fire. And you have all these people that have been carjacked or attempted to be carjacked. And you have the Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. Is it McMullen? Mark Wayne Mullen. Mark Wayne Mullen out of Oklahoma, who was saying yesterday he doesn't wear a seatbelt in D.C. When he drives around in his Jeep in case he needs to get out of his vehicle and flee quickly, as if somebody attacks. He doesn't want to be stuck in the vehicle. He wants to be able to get out. I mean, and he says he wears his seatbelt everywhere else he drives, but not in D.C. Again, these are not isolated incidents. These are broad, and it is absolutely absurd that you're getting so much pushback from people like Chuck Schumer, who is saying, hey, there's nothing to see here. Keep moving. It's absolutely incredible that they would go against this, which is insane. All right. So I told you I'd give you an update on my time in New York City. Okay. So I'm going to play a clip for you, at least a little bit of this clip. I know a lot of you that follow me on social media have seen it. But I'll just play it for you here, give you an idea of what it looked like earlier this week in New York City with Newsmax.
America, I'm Charlotte Bright. I'm joined by Ike Wingate this morning, coming to us in New York from Arkansas to fill in for the vacationing Mark Lauder. He needed a break from the desk. We all do in these summer months. So it's great to have you with us.
It is wonderful to be here, and maybe later I'll teach you how to call the hogs. That's what we do in Arkansas.
Oh, us dogs don't really want to do that. But yeah, we can have that battle a little later. Right now, we're going to talk about the battle that's going on just south of your state in Texas, the redistricting fight between Republicans and Democrats in Texas. It's really spanning now the entire country. Governor Greg Abbott, whose state ignited this battle, is warning that this fight, these are his words, could last years.
Wow.
That seems like a lot. For more on this, let's welcome in Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt. Great to see you this morning, Governor. Thank you for taking the time. So, yeah, years, that seems like a long time. We hope it's not that, but we know that Texas Governor Abbott saying he will use his authority to keep calling these special sessions of the Texas legislature to extend this battle really indefinitely, adding if the Democrats who left the state to prevent the vote in the first place want to evade that arrest, they're going to stay outside Texas for literally years. What do you make of all this and what we're seeing play out here by Democrats in Texas?
You know, it's just disappointing. They're not getting their way. They're trying to take their ball and go home. They're hiding out in other states. They better not come to Oklahoma, or I'll help Governor Abbott bring them back to Austin, to their capital. But I want to hear the calling of the pigs, and I'll give you a little Boomer Sooner and some both go Pokes.
We're gonna
bunch of rivalries going on right.
Really?
I love
an SEC segment here. Well, obviously, as you just said, I mean, you're next door, Governor, there to Texas. And with all this redistricting chaos day in, day out, the walkouts, threats of arrests, the marathon special sessions, has any of it spilled over across the border into Oklahoma at all?
You know, not really. We had a redistricting last year, and it went through the process. This is kind of how this thing works. Mm-hmm. It goes to the legislature. There's usually independent folks that kind of look at those maps. The reason you have to redistrict, just so Americans know, is that you have population growth, and if it's moving to the suburbs, you have to redraw those maps periodically, and that's what it is. I think it's every decade or so, depending on the state. And so they have to redraw those. It goes to the legislature. The governor has to sign off on it. This is a duly processed will of the people that are in the state legislature today and elected by the governor. And for one party to take their ball and go home and try to avoid accountability or the actual process is just really disappointing. And I think Americans, that's why Americans are so frustrated with politics, mm-hmm. is because they see this stuff happening and they're not doing their job. And that's, I think, what Governor Abbott's trying to make sure that we get done.
Yeah, and I've been saying that for weeks now. If we didn't show up for our jobs, we wouldn't have a job. So yeah, it's really ridiculous. I want to shift gears a little bit, and I'd like to get your thoughts on the Great American Farmers Market at the National Mall in D.C. last week, showcasing American growth.
All right, so I don't know what it's doing here, but I'll play the end of this if it'll let me.
Do this better than we do. We have a lot of packaged, ready to eat meals, and we need to get back to the basics of cooking at home, being together as a family. And I think those are things that we can all agree on as Americans.
All right. Great to have you with us this morning. Governor Kevin Stitt, a pleasure. Please come back anytime.
Hey, thank you so much.
All right.
Woo pig.
Go dog.
Yeah. All right, that guy was cool. The governor of Oklahoma is a cool guy. He was a fun guest, and we got to have a little fun there. So in case, let's see. This was yesterday morning. Now, okay, so I'll tell you what happened here. I went in. I was going to do 2 days. All right, so I brought 2 suits. Okay, I brought an extra shirt and an extra tie. That's just, and so after the first day, the people in charge asked if I would stay an additional day. They thought things went really well, and that they asked if I could, and I said sure, but I only brought 2 suits, and they said that doesn't matter, you can borrow a tie if you need to, and I said no, I got an extra tie. So I wore the gray suit on Monday, blue suit on Tuesday, and then I was back to the gray suit yesterday. And so anyway, I don't know if you pay attention to that. A lot of people don't ever notice suits or anything like that, but I'm just giving you what happened here. But it was a very positive experience. The people there couldn't have been nicer. Okay. I didn't get into Newsmax. I got into New York on Sunday afternoon, and then but no one was in the office over there, because I was going, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do, I would like to figure this out. No one was there though. I didn't want to have somebody come in on Sunday afternoon, and so I met the executive producer in the lobby on Monday at 5 a.m., 2 hours before showtime, never having even been in there, never having done this. I've never been on live broadcast TV with a teleprompter and any of this stuff. Okay. The closest I've came was when I was on the set at CPAC, but that was totally different deal than this. So I meet him at 5 in the lobby. I meet him in person for the first time. He takes me up. We go into this green room area, and this one lady gives me a tour, takes me around, shows me everything, makes sure I'm very comfortable and just that I have everything that I need. And they just couldn't have been nicer, because I got to tell you, I was nervous going into there, because I'm like, man, it's basically here's what it's like, guys. You ever started a new job at a place? First day, you don't know anybody. You don't even know where the freaking bathroom is. You don't know anything. And so you walk in day one. Oh, and by the way, it's your first day of just even being in this office, and you're going on national TV as an anchor, and you've never done it before. So, as you can imagine, a lot of prayer, a lot of preparation was done ahead of time because I didn't know what I was walking into. But here's the amazing thing is how accommodating, how helpful, and just how kind and gracious the team at Newsmax is, and how professional they were. They didn't act like, why don't you know this, or anything. If they asked me something I didn't know, they would explain it. That is how they operated. And so day one, walking in, you just saw that clip from day one. And that's how it was. It was pretty incredible. And obviously day 2, day 3 just got more and more smooth in understanding how it all works. And as I said earlier, it was like I was treated like a rock star, because I wasn't, you had an amazing technical crew too. You had someone that would come find you and say, all right, here's your earpiece. They would pin it to you, run it down, clip you. They would bring, your microphone in. This great guy, Ron, would come in. He would run the microphone up behind my tie, clip it on my tie, and then he would, clip the pack over here. One of the first questions I asked is, how do I turn this microphone off when I go into the bathroom? Because I don't want a Naked Gun, the movie The Naked Gun moment. And he said, well, it's not like it hasn't happened before. And so, they get you wired up. You're good to go. You walk in to the makeup room, and they're, doing all the makeup on you. My gosh, did they put a lot of makeup on me? I have shiny skin. Okay. I just do. And so, at times during the program, during the commercial breaks, they would come in and, pat some more on there to take away some of the shine. I mean, it literally, and then, we got into a groove where when I would get there, the executive producer would hand me the rundown of the show, everything that we're going to cover, all the blocks, all the guests. And what I would do is I would go back into the green room, and I would sit there and I would look up every person that we'd be talking to, every subject that we're talking about. I would create my own notes to be able to understand and have a better idea. But then you have this entire news team that is, extracting, getting the information for these stories. Obviously, you have a booking crew is booking the guests days ahead of time or the night before. And then you have a team that writes the actual scripts for the teleprompter based on this news information. Now, you can, of course, edit that. Charla, the co-host, she was incredible, a true pro. The stuff she was able to do and adjust on the fly as we were going. And so she was a lot of times sitting on her computer and massaging the script that was going to be in the teleprompter in just moments. And so it was really quite impressive. And of course, they told me, look, if there's something on the screen, if you want to ask a question that's not on the teleprompter, feel free to do it. And so that's sort of the general idea. We would do some ad-libbing, of course, but you had all of these people that come together that make this just a well-oiled machine. It was really a dream come true, and such an enjoyable experience to be a part of, because I'm a nobody. That's the way I look at it. I'm a nobody who's been given an opportunity to go and train to do this, and then whatever comes from this later on, I don't know. We'll see. But they were incredibly, what's the word? Complimentary. And just really encouraging throughout the entire thing, which made it all so much easier. And it was just, I'm going to tell you this. I've never felt more like this was what I was made to do than the last 3 days. That's the honest truth. Literally, I haven't trained for this. I haven't spent, a bunch of years, from the standpoint of reporting on the beat and these different things. Obviously, I've been grinding this thing out with you guys for 2.5 years every day. But to be in there and to feel so comfortable, it was like a weightless feeling, as in this is what I was made to do. And I've never, ever, ever felt like that about anything more than I have in that moment. And I'm just telling you, I've always heard people say, do what you love to do, and you'll never work a day in your life. And I'm telling you, I've never understood that more than the last 3 days. And not having to mess with the details of different things and just be able to focus right in on delivering the information. It was just incredible. No matter what happens, I am grateful to have had the experience. And that's my heart is filled with gratitude at this moment, because you guys know we have been grinding this thing out, and I have complained. I have grown frustrated. I have become mad. I have become just bewildered in the process of, believing this was a calling, but not seeing a path to doing it. And I'm not saying I'm going to be doing anything specifically necessarily when it comes to this. I hope so, and I believe there's a possibility there. But to have it come to this point it was just incredible, and I can't say enough about the CEO of Newsmax, Chris Ruddy, for giving me this opportunity. You know, sometimes we just need somebody to take a chance on us. And so, you know, that's a lesson I've come away with is there are times when there are people that you can give a chance to. You can give them an opportunity. You may take a little bit of risk on your own, and it could come back to bite you, and you may look bad. But if your gut is telling you to give them a chance, you look at almost any successful person anywhere at any time, and people say, well, this person's a self-made, blah, blah, blah. Well, I've kind of come to this place of believing there's no such thing as a self-made person. And I've always said, it's actually God-made. There's no such thing as self-made. It's God-made, right? I actually bought that URL about 5 years ago. GodMadeBusiness.com or something, or God, I don't remember what it was. Anyway, it was just an idea. Anyway, side note. But back to this, you look at almost any, basically every successful person has had someone take a chance on them when they were unproven, when they had potential, but it wasn't fully understood yet. And so I am grateful for that. And it's a lesson to me to say, sometimes you have to take a chance on somebody. We all need it. We all need somebody to take a chance on us. So that's that part of the story. Now, let me play you this clip. This was the What's Trending section yesterday morning. Kind of some awkward moments because of the big balls reference. And obviously I'm sitting at a table with 3 other women trying to, be a gentleman and behave myself. But these big balls jokes are just, I guess maybe I'm immature, but there were so many jokes that could have been made. But, this is a professional environment, and we just had to keep rolling with it.
By Alex Kramer and Allison Maloney for a look at what's trending this morning.
Yes, so we'll start with this. So we've been talking about the president's push to make D.C. safe once again, and it comes after a former member of the Doge staff was left bloodied when he jumped in to help the victims of a carjacking. Yesterday, during the White House briefing, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, she was asked about the possibility of rewarding Edward Korstein, who's affectionately known as Big Balls. Listen to her response.
Given the heroic actions of a member of this administration just a few blocks from this building, will the president consider giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Big Balls?
I haven't spoken to him about that, but perhaps it's something he would consider.
All right, well, it's something he would consider, Allison.
Yeah, I think, look, obviously, that image is so graphic, we can't even show it. And what happened to him, these are stories that, we continue to hear about in D.C. The Medal of Honor has gone to some really well-known people. I don't know if that Medal of Honor should go to him, but look, thank God he's alive and he's doing well. So we'll see what the president decides to do.
Yeah, it's worth noting his nickname comes, I believe, from his online account. So, yes, that is not something that we just gave him or the reporter just gave him as well.
Yes, and social media loves to reference it as often as possible.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I know that he is recovering and, again, stepped in to try to help someone else. And that was such a brave act as well. We're glad that he is doing better, though.
Yeah, and then honestly, that kind of triggered Trump to bring in and really federalize D.C. after, that attack again after a string of attacks. So that was kind of the final straw.
Yeah.
But speaking of honors, President Trump really making a stop of the Kennedy Center today, where this year's list of Kennedy Center honorees, they will be announced. The president trolling the left with this message on social media, saying on Truth Social, quote, great nominees for the Trump Kennedy Center Awards. Tremendous work is being done and money being spent on bringing it back to the absolute top level of luxury, glamour, and entertainment. It had fallen on hard times physically, but will soon be making a major comeback. Then the Kennedy Center teased the list of honorees with a post saying, quote, a country music icon, an Englishman, a New York City rock band, a dance queen, and a multi-billion-dollar actor walk into the Kennedy Center Opera House. So a lot to unpack there. Do we have any guesses of who it's going to be? I know the announcement's coming.
Yes. Well, the Washington Post, had a big guess. So they think with that country singer, George Strait, which I am a huge fan of, my fellow Texan. I don't know who doesn't love George Strait. So that'll be great to bring some country music to the Kennedy Center Honors, if that's true. And then another one, Kiss.
Oh,
also fun. Eugene Simmons coming to the Kennedy Center Honors. One of the most fun things I have done in my career was covering the red carpet at the Kennedy Center Honors a few years ago. It is just a magical night, an amazing experience, full of awesome performances. And I just think it's great that he's bringing some good names back.
You should go back.
I would love to.
Wait, can we send you?
I would love to go back and be there on the red carpet and talk to George Strait. Just putting that out there.
Oceanfront properties in Arizona.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah, great stuff.
Finally running out of time with the NFL season. As we all know, it's right around the corner. Preseason well underway. And right now, the Minnesota Vikings making headlines, but not just for QB JJ McCarthy, who's turning some heads, but for the two male cheerleaders on this season's squad. This is one of them, Louie, and it has some fans mad enough that they actually claimed that they're canceling their season tickets over this. Minnesota isn't the first team with male cheerleaders, but Ike, I'm going to throw it to you on this one. I thought we were kind of done with PEI.
Oh my gosh. I see this and I say, do you not understand your target market?
Right.
Okay. The NFL is geared primarily toward male viewers. And I'm just saying very, confidently here, we don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Straight.
Yeah, Allison, what do you think? Are we bringing male cheerleaders back?
I don't mind seeing the male cheerleaders, but to Ike's point, know your audience. This is the NFL. I mean, again, it's, they've seen things happen when they've tried to go a little woke, and they've got loyal fans and supporters. So I don't think this is a good look for them.
I will say the dude has an awesome backflip.
Yeah.
That back tuck is on point.
We'll go to a gymnastics meet then.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you guys. You got it. Much more to come here on.
All right. So those segments were really fun. They were totally unscripted. And, they actually, Alex did not, and Charlotte too. They really didn't want you to know what she was going to talk about, because, sort of wanted to have real, off the cuff, unscripted reaction. And so, that particular day, I did get a printout to be able to see what was ahead. And when they said that cheerleader was in there from Minnesota, I was like, yes, because I know I can, stake a good point on that guy. So anyway, very interesting. A lot of fun. All right. You want to see some pictures real quick? Let me see if I can show you some pictures. Let's see here. Let me try to, okay. All righty. Okay. Let's see. I will show you. Let's see. All right. Show you a couple pictures here. Sorry for the people that are listening to this podcast audio only. This part won't be very interesting, but obviously we had the studio here. And so here in the middle was the main desk. Over here is the couch. And then over here to the very far right, there's another studio. There's also, they have Newsmax 2, which is another channel that's free. There's a studio in the newsroom for that, as well as some people down in Boca Raton do shows down there. And so, but this is the main studio that most of the shows are done in. That was my wife sending a picture of us on TV, on our TV at home. This is an actor that I saw in this diner. He came in, and I can't remember his name, but there he is out there. Let's see. It is the actor from that Dome show. Let's see. Actor. Let's see. Actor from Fake Jury Duty show. James Marsden. James Marsden. That's his name, I believe. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Oh, wait. The main actor, Ronald Gladden. Okay, so who is it? Ronald Gladden? No. Hold on. What is this? Let's see. I'm sorry.
Ned's excited for his big date.
Okay, hold on a sec here. Yeah, this is the guy. James Marsden. Is that his name? All right, hold on. James Marsden. Yes, okay. All right, I got it. This is him right here. James Marsden. This is him. Okay? This is who came into the to the diner there. As I was sitting, I looked over and was like, "Holy crap, that's that dude." And so he asked them for some kind of to go, some kind of egg omelet, something or another. And then he left. And I didn't want to bother him because, he's eating. These are just some random pictures as I was walking around Manhattan. This is Central Park. I feel like I'm showing you a slideshow that you never asked. This is the Apple Store, which is pretty close to Central Park. On the map, okay, so I got a new iPhone. In my travel bag, I have chargers, and I didn't realize they actually changed the plug on the new iPhone, and so I didn't grab the cord that came with it in the box. And so I got to New York City and didn't have a phone charger, so I was freaking out because I'm like, I need my phone during the show on Monday because I will be looking up stuff on the fly potentially or whatever. And thankfully, I made it through. But after that, I was, I'm like, I got to get to the Apple Store. And so I'm like, all right, I'll just take a walk. I see the Apple Store on the map. I walk down and I'm like, where the heck is the store? There's no building here. And then I walk around and I see this. And I'm like, well, this looks like just like a freaking display. Like, what are we looking at here? Well, come to find out, it was underground, the Apple Store. So you walk down this spiraling staircase down into the Apple Store. And so then you find all the nerds down there. So anyway, kind of interesting. The Plaza Hotel there. And we have Bergdorf Goodman. I was thinking, wasn't that the place that E. Jean Carroll alleged that Trump raped her or whatever? This is what ladies, tell me what store this is. This is a giant building that's wrapped in I don't remember what the name of this is, but maybe you guys can recognize it by the what it looks like here. So yeah, so that's what that looks like. Okay, here we are in Trump Tower, my friends. Trump Tower, you can just walk right in. It is super tourist friendly. The golden escalator. This is the escalator that Trump came down, and then the world changed, right? And so you had this little area off to the side. Whoops, that's I don't know why my son and his his braces picture is in there. This is the escalator, though. This is I'm acting just like Trump. Okay, and so there's all these shops in there that were super nice, like the Trump Cafe. This shows all of Trump's properties, the world of Trump. You got this daddy shirt in there. This is the Trump store. And believe me, I know plenty of people that would want stuff in there. And I thought, you know what? Where would I stop because there'd be so many people I'd have to buy stuff for. I'd leave somebody out, and also, it was, it wasn't cheap. Okay, so I'm not made of money. And then here's some other video. And then this is sort of this area that was roped off. There was security around, and they were very friendly. I talked to one for a while, basically saying Trump, basically the first 30 floors are occupied by other businesses and offices. And then Trump specifically has floor like 31 through 60 or whatever. And this is looking down. You got the big American flag. Again, very tourist friendly. That was a terrace that was out. This is the actual building. This is Trump Tower, obviously very tall. This is just taking a picture off the terrace from Trump Tower. This is an old church, which was just, I don't know, the pictures don't do it justice. Then here we go back over to Central Park. This is Central Park right in the middle of all of these buildings. Pretty incredible. Again, Central Park. Okay, this is where the shooting happened, where the guy walked in and went up and shot some people in the NFL headquarters, the Blackstone building as well. And so I was walking by, and I see all these police just kind of standing around guarding it. I'm like, wait a minute. And I backed up. I walked past it, and then I backed up, and I was like, wait a minute. That plaza out there looks, it looks very, well, oh, yeah, that's that place where that shooting happened. And so he double parked right out here and walked right up. And I actually I looked at the cameras, looked to see where the cameras were. But anyway, I don't know why you can't see them in the picture, but there were police all around here. That was a salad. Let's see. Here's a pizza. Here's a pizza I had, which was good. Let's see here. Just a random shot down the street. As you see, there's a lot of parts of Manhattan that, at a certain time of day, there's no more sun. And you see the sun way down there. It's just crazy how you can look down that street for as far as you could see, and it's nothing but buildings. This is the green room. This is where I'd come in and work and make notes before the show, coffee, snacks. They have, these 6 TVs with various, various feeds. This is the control room. You actually don't even see the whole thing. Some of the audio people are behind around the corner. But all the things that they're doing in there. This was Charlotte and I taking a photo. What else do we have here? Let's see. Anyway, as you're, leaving New York on the runway, welcome to New York. And then last thing I'll show you is just the incredible sight of Manhattan. And the fact that there's this huge portion right in the middle of it that's Central Park. It's just, it's kind of incredible. I don't know. So anyway, those were some shots from the trip. Okay, so there you go. So you can't rent a room there at Trump Tower. No, it's not a hotel. It is not a hotel, actually. Not to my understanding. Let's see here. What else are you saying? James Marsden is great. Says Bree. Doug says I'll never watch a Minnesota Vikings game again. Let's see. Thank you, Rocky. Says I did awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's see. David Sling referencing the ABBA song, definitely made out when they took a chance on me. Take a chance. Yeah, that song will just be in your head all day long. Let's see here. Mostly Penny says, I believed in you since I saw you on TikTok. Thank you, Mostly Penny. Early believer. Star says, what if they offer you full time? Will you move your family? You cross those bridges when they come up. That's not something in the conversation. anywhere close to that at this point. Yeah, I think at this point we're talking about some kind of weekend thing, and there are options as to what that could or couldn't be. I don't know whether it's there, whether it's here. I don't know. Star says that's awesome. It's your calling. Rocky says, now you were the one throwing people off with questions. That's true. That's true. Honestly, it was a way better position to be in. Mostly Penny says, hopefully nobody adds a question mark to the end of the teleprompter. Yes, that's for sure. Believe me. So I would get the scripts printed out ahead of time. And there was a guy named Matt who's awesome. He would just bring them to me every day. He'd bring me the 7 o'clock hour as soon as it was ready. And then, toward the end, about 7:45, he would bring me the script for the 8 o'clock hour. Again, just I don't know. I just felt like just a lot of people just that are willing to serve and to just make the job easier. And so you read ahead, obviously, right? You read ahead because you don't want to be surprised. But there was some massaging of the teleprompter script in between the printout and actual airtime. So, there are times where that happens. There are times when things just change as you're going through the broadcast, and you have to adjust on the fly and then skip questions. And that's what Charlotte was great about. Something would change, or, you have a producer in your ear saying, you got 1 minute, and you have these time prompts going on the whole time. And then you have a person who's answering a question and they're going kind of long. And so it's sometimes difficult. You might not be able to get the question in that you want. But she was really good about adjusting on the fly. She had all these symbols she was doing when we were off camera, but the control room could see us, and they would, make adjustments based on her hand gestures. Or, she would do something like this. Basically, we couldn't talk because the mics were a lot of times hot, even though we weren't on camera, which basically meant tell us, how much time we have left. And so you do everything you can to prepare because the last thing, and it happened probably 2 or 3 times where I read something in an inflection I didn't want to do because it was something I hadn't seen yet. And it would, may have been written a little weird or something, or it's not necessarily my style to say it in that way. And so, but you try to do everything you can so you don't get into a situation where somebody puts a question mark in a weird place. And there were, sometimes there are typos and things like that. And in the moment, you have to recognize that and overlook it, skip it, potentially adjust it. And that's just part of it because you're putting together all this content every single day. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm not going to stop the broadcast, but because we want to make way for the next show up on Died Suddenly, we are going to cease our broadcast on Died Suddenly. If you want to see the rest of the show, come over to Ike Wingate on X at Ike Wingate. And sorry, I'm just running a little bit long, so we're going to do that. So thank you for being here. Okay. And so anyway, just a lot of that. We joked about that actually on the teleprompter, the Ron Burgundy thing. I'm sure they've heard that joke probably a lot, but for me, it was new. Bree says, I was praying for you daily. Thank you so much, Bree. Appreciate that. Appreciate all your prayers. Rocky said you killed it. Mostly Penny, very proud of you. Thank you all very much. Star, very proud. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all of your support and your encouragement. It meant the world because there were times where I was sitting there in the middle of all that thinking, what am I doing? You know what I mean? The morning of before I walk over, I'm basically saying, all right, you're about to get into an environment that you have never been in. You have zero control, and you have to remain nimble. And you have to, this is what you've prepared for. This is what you have been waiting for. And it is time now to seize the moment. And I prayed to God, give me clarity of thought, give me the words I need to say, guide me through this. And you go in. It was exhilarating, really, honestly, exhilarating. And I also thought of all the people, you know who you are, who have been supportive this entire time, the people that are, sending me encouraging things or commenting encouraging things on some of my posts, and those of you that are in the chat every day that are constantly a source of encouragement. I thought of a lot of that as I was going into this situation where it was quite intimidating, and that's what carried me through. So it is just as much a win for me as it is a win for you. So thank you all for that. It's an experience I'll never forget. I hope there are more, and stay tuned for whatever that might be. I'm not going to get ahead of anybody, but they were quite pleased with how everything went. And so hopefully there's more to come. There's more to come. You know what I'm saying? And so let's see here. If you want to support the work we're doing here to bring you this show, Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com or in the chat on Rumble. And let's see. We can't let a show go by without doing a Triggered Liberal.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
Wouldn't say this is like the classic Triggered Liberal, but Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee is basically saying that, President Trump is racist in that he's calling out these crime-ridden cities, all the ones that are ran by Black people.
But let me just say also, it's not lost on anyone that the cities that he is calling out, first of all, have large numbers of Black and brown people. Secondly, the crime rate is going down in all of these cities. Thirdly, they're all headed by Black mayors. Now, what does that say? What does that picture paint? So we all know who he is. Also, let me just say here in Oakland, for example, we have a
Okay, so it's all about it's just the fact that Black people are running these cities. That's why Trump's keyed in on them. Really, why don't you ask all of the victims of these heinous crimes that happen to be Black, brown, white, and all of the above, whether or not this is a race thing? Why don't you ask the parents of the deceased? Actually, yesterday on air on Newsmax, they interviewed the mother of a carjacking victim. Go tell her it's all about race. This truly is derangement. It's delusional, and they are trying to race bait when all President Trump is trying to do is keep these places safe. Because look, we have a standard to uphold here in the United States of America. I would think about it like a family, essentially. If your house is trashed, if your kids are running, wild, and you just have chaos, that's a poor reflection on your family, is it not? It's the same situation here in the United States of America when we have cities and places where violence is happening and the streets look like garbage and crap. That is not acceptable. We have a standard to uphold. We have a reputation to protect, because this is something that we have built over time based on doing the right thing, and people that are doing the wrong thing are diminishing it all. And unfortunately, it's far, far more destructive than a damaged reputation. These are lives that are being destroyed. It has nothing to do with race, and shame on you for playing the race victim card when there are mothers and fathers and spouses and siblings that will never be able to see their loved one again because you've been soft on crime in these terrible blue cities. Shame on you for making it about race, and that is why you are today's Triggered Liberal.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
All right, my friends, that's going to do it for today's show. I know it was a lot of just information all over the place here, but thank you guys for being here. I hope you enjoyed at least a little bit of the behind the scenes info on how it all works. And I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to help us just cover our costs to pay for the people that help us do this show and our subscriptions that we need to keep up and going to be able to bring you this with all the software Of course, we do value your contributions via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com or in the chat on Rumble. Let me check out the Rumble chat here. I got distracted over here from the Rumble chat. Okay, very good. All right. David Sling says, that's exactly right. Fix the broken windows and demand clean cities. Rocky says, don't forget the little people when you are on the big screen full time. I have a good memory of the little people. Don't you worry. Let's see here. Let's see. El Presidente Pizza Tour. I did not do that. I don't know. The pizza was not at Trump Tower. It was at this really, nice little wine bar place down the road. Bree says Manhattan is a cool place. David Sling says, did you see Homeless? Yes, I saw Homeless. And let me tell you, man, it smells like weed a lot. And I'm not talking about just a little bit of like vape weed. I'm talking, there was a couple times where I was walking around in a couple places and I was smelling it for, like a good 30 seconds, like enough to breathe it in a few times. And then I got the munchies really bad. So I don't know if that was I'm just kidding. But there were definitely times where it was like, I am full on, secondhand toking up right now. You know what I mean? Like I'm basically, I'm getting hot boxed, from walking behind somebody, like, and it happened a lot. And I was just like, golly, it was weird at first because I'm like, man, what am I smelling? And it was probably some of that vape stuff. It wasn't like the pure, like somebody was smoking it for real. But then as time went on, I'm like, holy crap, everybody around here must be high. But definitely saw some homeless people. I didn't see a ton of homeless people. You had a couple, solicitors out on the streets, a couple guys who were trying to do rap music. They got me. We started talking for a minute because I walked by them one time and they were pretty funny. They're trying to get people to talk to them. And I'm walking by and the guy's like, hey, Shades, come on, Shades. I was wearing sunglasses, obviously. And then he said, come on, man, you don't want to talk to a black man? Come on, man, talk to a black man. And I just was laughing as I was walking down the street. I ended up going down and realized, you know what? Actually, I needed to turn. And I'm like, crap, I got to walk back by him. And they're like, oh, here he is, and they start talking to me. And I'm like, what are you doing? And they said they wanted to feed homeless kids and that they were giving out their music for a free download. And as a donation, you could make a donation and that it was going to go to feed. They're working with some shelters or something. And I'm like, they gave a good spiel and they were funny. They told me I looked like Bill Murray. I mean, they were just funny dudes. It was actually a funny conversation. Then they tried to stroke my ego and said that it was obvious that I hit the gym. I'm like, you guys have a really good spiel going on. So I gave them each $10 and I'm like, you know what, if they're full of crap, whatever. But they were funny. And let's see, I got approached by another guy. I kept going this time. He tried to talk to me. He had a football and I just kind of kept going. And he was like, you don't want to go long? You don't want to go long? And I turned around and I was like, oh, I said, yeah, throw it. And so I just kept walking down the street and he threw the football to me as I was walking down the street and I caught it, and then I threw it back to him. So just random funny things that happen down there. And so a lot of times, it's like, don't talk to anybody, don't do anything. And that's probably a pretty good, safe way to do it. But there were some people that were funny enough and had kind of a unique, spiel that I engaged them a little bit in what they were doing. But they're the homeless people, you see them and you're not even, you're acting like they don't exist. I'm sorry. That's just what I do because You just never know. Now, a lot of these places have doormen. The doormen at the hotel I was staying were super nice, and they keep that riffraff out. And so, I didn't see a lot of it. I probably saw, kind of in the area I was in, a handful of homeless people at various times. As you went up, to Central Park and some of that stuff, you saw maybe some more of that kind of thing. But, overall, the city was, I would say it was pretty clean for the most part. But, you still smell the sewer, from time to time in different places. So, it in the area I happen to be in, you obviously were careful, but it wasn't, I never felt unsafe, at any point that I was there. Now I was in my room, by 8 p.m. at night too. So to try to get to bed. But definitely, anyway, that's a long answer to the question. Sorry there about the homeless. But anyway, all around a great trip. Still trying to get acclimated to being back on Central Time and not getting up that early and all those kind of things. And so anyway, that is going to do it for the show today. I don't think we'll be back with you tomorrow, but we'll try to be back with you next week. Follow me on the Ike Nation Locals group. With it being gone, I've got some things I've got to catch up on. If I am able to go live tomorrow, I will certainly let you know in the Ike Nation Locals group, ikenation.locals.com. Thank you all for your support, for your encouragement, and just for believing in what we're doing here to shine a light into the dark corners of our government, culture, and media. Remember to never stop being a free and critical thinker, because the truth is always worth it. Have a great day.
Rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It's how we get the word out amidst the chaos. Thanks for listening to the Ike Wingate Show.